in Granada, Spain, after 6 months of being abroad and after a week of traveling alone. And at this point, at this week, I'm pretty aimless. I really have no idea what I'm doing or what direction I'm taking. But I read online about this like camping community, like on the outskirts of Granada, and I just totally latched onto that. And I took a bus there, and so I arrive in the city, and I'm walking into the like historic city center, and it's beautiful, and I see this guy, this like bohemian guy. And you know those moments when you like make note of someone, you can tell they make note of you. And I'm walking past him, and he, in broken English, pretty much we communicate a little bit, and I get the sense that he's asking me if I want to buy weed. And the answer to that question was easy. It was yes. And so we go up the journey. Granada's a very hilly place. We are trekking up with my backpacks. I'm like trying to keep up with this guy. We retrieve the weed, and after doing so, we obviously were smoking together. And there's that intimacy that forms, you know, as you're like sharing a substance with someone. And then the camaraderie, because I learned that he's from Italy and I'm obviously American. And so also the camaraderie of just like being a foreigner in another country. And we're talking and we're sharing and passing the joint back and forth, and then eventually it finishes. And there's that pause, you know, of like, okay, so what's going to happen next? And he was like, you know, what we could do is we could smoke another one. But we go back to where I'm staying, which is a squat. And a squat is where people live without permission. Like, just find a place and then they stay there. And he was like, yeah, there's a few other Italian guys who are staying there, and they're really cool guys. And I was like, okay, yeah, you know, because I'm a traveler now, this is what I do. And so we make the journey over to there, and we come up to like the nondescript door, you know, and he opens it, and we start walking up this like narrow stairway. And with each step walking up this narrow stairway, there's that feeling in the gut of like, maybe this like isn't the most responsible thing that I could be doing right now as like a woman alone. And we go up the stairway, and we go into the hallway, and there's just two rooms that are pretty much empty other than like a couple of beds on the floor and like just trash. And we walk into the living room space, and I meet the three other guys there. I take a seat on the couch, and my new friend sits next to me, and then across from me is two chairs. We have, I can't remember people's names. We have, I'm going to call him Superiority Complex because he spoke English the best and obviously thought he was better than everyone. And then across from me, I call this guy like Silent Bob because he literally never spoke the entire time I was there. And then there was a guy who was not sitting, he was just standing and standing-ish, and I called him Fidgety because he was pretending to clean. I don't know, he had a broom that he moved sometimes. And there was this teenage pit bull that he had that he, for just no reason, he would just like get angry at, like, which was immediately off-putting. So I'm like sitting there, and my new friend is like rolling a joint, you know, and there's like that feeling in the gut of my stomach that's like, is this okay? Like, I don't know. And then I'm talking, you know, and like no one really knows English very well, and I'm talking to my friend, and then it becomes clear to me that the range in which he's known people is 3 days a week and 2 weeks. So like he doesn't know these people, which is like, okay, this is also concerning. Also Fidgety's like freaking out, you know, and so that concern is like continuing to evolve. And then we're smoking, and my friend passes a superiority complex who hits it, and then Silent Bob and Fidgety are okay, they don't want it, so I take it, and I'm getting more stoned, and I'm like, is this the right thing to do? But also I'm really stressed, so of course I'm doing this. And, okay, what happens? Okay, yeah, so like, totally, like, not sure how to feel about the situation, and then suddenly, a piece of foil comes out, and of course I make note, and then suddenly Silent Bob and Fidgety start smoking from it. And like Silent Bob is like already like silent but very alert, becomes more alert, and becomes what I would consider suspicious of anything and everything, but continues to not speak, even in Italian to the other people. And then Fidgety just becomes more fidgety and like just like aggressive at the dog for no reason, literally for just existing there, and nothing is more off-putting other than like someone maybe hitting a child than someone just being aggro at a dog for no reason. And so like they're smoking off this foil, and I was like, okay, this is definitely not a good sign. And so like I'm like planning my escape plan. I'm like, okay, like I need to leave here, but I also need to leave here in a way that's like not like, okay, bye now. Okay, the story's almost over. What happens? Okay, the foil, and then, my friend and Fidgety start having a conversation. It's obviously about me because they're like looking at me, and so it's like, okay, obviously these people are talking about me, and I'm like, this is not a good sign because like Fidgety definitely never trusted me. And then my friend looks at me and he's like, hey, so you can stay here tonight. I was like, oh my God, and like Fidgety looks at me and like gives me this nod of approval as though I should be flattered, and I was like, oh my God, this is terrible, like this is nightmarish. And so I look outside, and thank God, like the sun is setting, and I have this whole thing that I've shared about how I'm camping. So I was like, that sounds great, but I really need to go get my tent set up. This is like my whole plan that I came here to do. I know you can respect that. And so I was able to make my way out of there safely. That feeling, that terrible feeling in my gut of like the nervousness as I was walking away, like slowly rose up to like that feeling of relief in my chest. And I wish I could say that was the last time I went with a random person to their home, but that would not be true.
And me and my best friend, who eventually asked to make out with me, years later, we're at the bad Starbucks. Remember, I'm from Seattle. And Seattle, like, Starbucks used to just, like, be a coffee shop that people would go to instead of, whatever corporate evil it is or whatever now. And so back in the day in Seattle, there were, like, cool Starbucks and, like, bad Starbucks where skateboarders would hang out. And so I, of course, as a 16-year-old, loved hanging out at the bad Starbucks in Westlake Center. And so my friend and I were like, that was the name of it. And so my friend and I went to the bad Starbucks to do bad stuff. That's why everyone was at the bad Starbucks, was to do bad stuff. And so we went to go buy weed, and there was this guy there who was like a street kid, and we were like, he surely has weed. Let's hang out with him and buy weed from him. And so we went over to him, struck up a conversation, and sure enough, like the universal, like, I think we had the universal face of like, do you have weed? And he was very happy to comply. And we bought weed from him, and then he, of course, like much like Becky, then you just like smoke weed with the random dude that you buy weed from as a young, dumb person. And so we go with him, and we purchase an apple at a corner store, and he teaches us how to make an apple pipe thing, or whatever, with a ballpoint pen, and we smoke out of that and like walk around downtown. And I remember really clearly like not feeling any impact of the weed, but wanting to so bad and just being like, whoa, the bricks are moving. But they weren't at all. I'm not sure we were smoking an apple, so I'm not sure. So that experience ended itself, and me and Megan went home. And then 3 days later, my older sister, who I shared a room with at the time, I busted into the room and was like, Tori, what the fuck? And I was like, what? She's like, did you hang out with Mike 3 days ago?